His late father sold their village's masquerade. I mean, who does that? Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Uche, and if this is your first time here, you are highly welcome. Please do well to click on the subscribe button below and also turn on your post notifications so you'll be the first person to know whenever I post a new video. Alright guys, quickly, in this video I will be talking about this book. So the book I'll be talking about is The Widow Who Died with Flowers in Her Mouth by Obinna Udenwe. So this book was published in 2023, and I actually got it as a gift from a very good friend of mine. I got it last year and I kept on putting off reading it. You know, I'll say, oh, I'll read this, and it was just there sitting on my TBL. On the flight to Maiduguri, I tried to read it, but you know, the excitement of seeing a new city, and I didn't even start. I just carried the book with me as an accessory. You can see the book cover, you see that it's a very fine book. All right, so last week Saturday, a few days back, I started reading it, and I just keep beating myself. I could have read this earlier. I had a whole lot of time to read this book earlier because this book ends down to the very last. This book is just it. This is a collection of short stories. So it has 11 stories in it, all short stories written in long form. And the stories are based in Africa basically, but majority of the stories are based in Nigeria. We have some stories based in the northern part of Nigeria, but the vast majority is based in the eastern part of Nigeria. Then there's a story that is based in Cameroon as well. So the first story is John 101, or the new ridiculous way to commit suicide and be famous. So this first story was a shocker. I mean, even down to the very last page, I just could not make out this character. I just could not understand what he was on about. Did this character, John Okere, did he get to achieve what he intended to? Yes, but only a crazy person will go about, you know, being famous in that way. You just want. I was in shock. I kept on thinking, what? Who would write this? I just could not understand for the life of me. Like, days passed after I'd read that first story, and I just kept on thinking, and I just wanted to. It Yes, it was a very good story, but the horror in the very last pages of that first story was something I could not get over that easily. Then the second story is it has to do with Emilia. I feel like in this second story, I wanted more. I was so curious, and that is one thing that this author does very well. He knows how to pique your curiosity. At the end of the story, even if you feel like your curiosity is not well satisfied, at least you have something to hold on to. Like, oh, at least. The third story is Melancholy, and it is set in Cameroon, and it tells the story of a woman who just returned from prison because she killed her husband when her actual intent was to kill her husband's lover. So I won't really call it my favorite story, but it's a really good story. Then the fourth one is The Housekeeper. Now the Housekeeper is a continuation of Melancholy. But the thing is that we don't get to know this until the very end. That is how skillful this author is. It's just crazy things are just happening in this book. It's really crazy. Like things that you will not really think of ordinarily. Things that it just feels like this author is gisting you in this book. You're, oh, crazy things are happening. That's just the long and short form of it. The next story is Obama Tailoring Shop. So this story tells about a lady who returns back to the village to start tailoring, and she's said to be well shaped. You know, the kind of shape that that someone will have. that will make men go crazy. And yes, she had all the men in the village going crazy. And the way this book ended was, it was shocking. Honestly, the things men do just to possess someone's body. You know somebody is for the street. You know what is happening. So why would you want to possess her and just have her all to yourself? It's just crazy. But this story just happens to be, I don't know if I would say it's my favorite story. I really, really like this. This is just it's my favorite story. It's one of my favorite stories. I can't clearly pick a favorite because there are so many, but this undoubtedly is my favorite story. Then the next story is the redemption of Father McKettrick. So this particular story is kind of, will I say, a sequel or a continuation of the very first story, John 101, or the new ridiculous way to commit suicide and be famous. But the thing is that this particular story is about a relative of John in the very first story. And this particular story just gripped me so hard. And when we get to see why Father McGettrick's life was in such a shamble. And just so you know, Father McGettrick, it doesn't mean he's a priest, but this author just has a funny way of naming his characters. Like someone is called Father McGettrick. I think in The Housekeeper, the main character is called Dad. And this might confuse you a bit because you might be thinking, oh, it's an actual dad, before the author then explains that this is just the person's name. It doesn't mean that maybe he has children somewhere also. So for this particular story, the author reveals that the reason why Father McGettrick's life was in so much shambles was because of what his father had done, what his late father had done. His late father sold their village's masquerade. I mean, who does that? Who does that? Anybody that is African, anybody that is Nigerian understands the implication of this act alone. You sell your village masquerade, you are gone for life, down to the very last generation. No wonder the character kept seeing masquerades in his dreams. And from the dream, like for instance, someone is giving him something to eat or to drink, the masquerades just come and they throw it away. The interpretation I would give for this, and I'm sure the author will agree with me, it just means that nothing good is going to come to him because of the sin his father has. So those masquerades, they are monitoring his life. If you are Nigerian and with all these stories that I hear from the village, spirits, if you understand spirituality, if you've even heard about it, you don't even need to even understand it. If you've heard about African spirituality, you would understand the implication of this. I think at the very last page of this particular story, I got to understand why the first character, John Okere, in the first story would do that kind of thing. It runs in the family. The family is cursed forever. It's cursed. So the only hope is that maybe Father McGettrick's offspring does not get to partake in this misery if father doesn't find a solution to this their family problem that their father has brought upon them. All right. So the next story, and this is the story that gives this book its title, The Widow Who Died with Flowers in Her Mouth. It's about a couple, an interracial couple. The woman is from Russia, the widow that is being talked about, Cecilia. She's from Russia, married to an African. It's not set in Nigeria. I think it's set in one of these other African countries. Cecilia is seen as this philanthropist, when a white person comes to Africa and how everybody's looking at them. Okay, because you're different, you're odd. Oh, why are you so white? Why is your hair so straight? That kind of thing. Everybody's in awe of Cecilia. And she's married to this doctor, this African doctor, and they have a good life, they have a good relationship. He has his friends come over and they entertain their guests. But the thing is that Cecilia's husband, Philip, has friends across all sectors of the economy, and they really like his wife, like more like they're lusting after her. So when Philip dies in an accident, they all go after his wife, like his three friends, all of them, plus the ones that are married and the ones that aren't married, all of them just go after Cecilia, hoping to wife her, but then she refuses, and she just ends up dead. Like a day after she announces her new lover, she winds up dead with flowers in her mouth. Like she was semi-nude and there were flowers in her mouth. This particular story, I was curious to the very end. Like 20 years had passed, 30 years had passed. I was waiting for, we had our suspicions quite all right. The characters in the book, they had their suspicions, but even with the readers, we didn't know who was responsible for the death of Cecilia. And I was thinking that the housekeeper's daughter was going to do an unveiling sort of, but what we are just left with is suspicion. And at the point where I would want to say, oh, I wish this author had thrown more light on this particular story, it just occurred to me, it dawned on me that it takes a different breed of author, it takes a different breed of writer to leave you with this effect. Because in my mind, I kept rewriting the story, thinking of ways where I could have fished out the killer of Cecilia. Yes, the story has ended, but I'm still thinking, even up to this very moment, I'm still thinking, who could have been responsible? And who kills someone in that kind of way? You kill someone and you leave flowers in their mouth. So I don't know if I was, is it possible for us to get a full story with that? Like this particular story, the drama that you would expect, given that the title of the story made it to the cover of this book, it's not something that is all over the place. It's there, but you have to really, I really do not know how better to explain this, but just take it from me, it just takes a different breed of author. Then the next story is The Tamarind. It talks about the killings in the northern part of Nigeria, and how one of the characters was the victim, and it's just a pretty cool story. I think I would say we've heard so much about the killings that are happening in northern part of Nigeria, and at this point this just happens to be another story about that is focused on that. Then there's All Good Things Come to an End. All Good Things Come to an End is a particularly good story. In fact, I would really love to see this story as a standalone if it's possible. But I just love the dynamics about this story. A woman and her husband, they've been looking for children, like they've not had any child since they got married. And it just happens that she gets pregnant few months after the husband threatens to bring in a second wife. And what she gives birth to in the hospital is not something you call a baby. It's, I don't know if I'll say it's a freak or something. I just don't know what she gave birth to. And it just throws more light on like the African society, the pressure that is put on women to give birth. Like everybody just focuses on the woman when a couple don't have children. So we don't know who the problem is from, because yes, the man got married to a second wife and he had a child, but the problem just didn't end there. So it's a really nice story. I just love what it's all about. Then the next story is Things Not Seen. This particular story is shocking. I know we've heard of situations whereby siblings that do not know that they are siblings come together, they have sex, and they begin an affair. Some of them even end up getting married and giving birth to children before someone that knows them, that knows their family history, come and tell them that no, you are not supposed to marry, you are not supposed to procreate or whatever. So we've heard stories like this all around. This story was just so shocking. The revelation part, it was really, really shocking, and I really, really like this story so much. As it just goes to tell us that in the African tradition, there's a consequence for everything. Everything that is done, there's a consequence. There are laid down rules, there are laid down traditions that everybody is supposed to follow, and it has its own spiritual consequence. You might be looking at it with the physical eye, and you might be looking at it with the ordinary eye. But physically, all is not well. So things not seen. Then the last story, Everything is Not Enough. Everything is Not Enough tells the story of an ordinary national diploma holder who gets married to a woman with a PhD. that is lecturing in a university. And at first, the educational gap wasn't a problem, even though outsiders, like the guy's mother kept hammering it in his ears. Oh, she's not going to do this one, she's not going to be submissive, and blah, 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 blah. But and things just happened. Things just happened. And it just, I don't know if I would say, does it mean that there's a particular stereotype about women who are highly educated? Like, even though the man doesn't have a problem with his wife per se, but the people around him, they will help him to have a problem with the wife. And there were some thoughts that the guy's mother was saying about how a woman should be, or a woman that wants to be free, why would she be so educated? So it's believed that there is a certain level of education a woman is supposed to attain. A man, yes, a man is allowed to go free, exploit, do whatever he wants to do, but a woman, well, you're not allowed to dream too much. Just take it easy. Just, you know, do like this, do like it was funny reading those parts. So that's all about the book. 11 stories in all. And guys, my closing thoughts on this is to see that the author is such a young writer, but he has the quality of our authors from old, Chino Achebe, Elechi Amadi, that quality. The stories are unique. I do not think in my very long life of reading, I have come across this kind of story in African literature. Like, there's this blend for all the stories, there's this blend between the old and the new, like it's just in the middle. And guys, this book is just it. I am highly recommending it. This book brought me out. It brought me out from a reading slump. A reading slump that would have progressed into a very terrible reading slump. This book is just like, it's this kind of book that you just read in one sitting. And I'm developing a serious liking for short story collection. I don't really read more of short stories, but with this particular book, I just find out that especially this year, I've been reading more of short stories, and I'm really really enjoying it. So if you don't have this book yet, you really need to go and get it. It's available. I think Roving Heights have it. Just check any bookstore that is around you. Roving Heights have this book. I'll put a link to their website in my description box. So this book, I'm highly recommending it. Well done to the author. I feel like it's such a privilege to just have access to this book. This book is just sitting pretty on my shelf. It's actually a signed copy. You see, no people, no follow who no road. Follow who no road. It says, Uche, I hope you find yourself in these characters. Cheers. Obinna. Udenwe Obinna. So it was signed 22nd of February 2023. Look at my life. So I really love this book, and I'm going to rate it the highest score. Like, it's 5/5 for me. Yes, it is 5/5 for me. So guys, let me know your thoughts. I can't divulge so much, but let me know if you pick up this book, and let's discuss in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Please do well to click on the subscribe button, like this video, share with your friends, gather here, bring them, let's come here, let's how we read, let's read more books. And that'll be all for now. I'll see you in my very next video. Bye guys.